Aurora City Council for Monday, January 26, 2024. It's called to order. Would the clerk please call the roll, and what is that music? Okay, would the clerk please call the roll?
Mayor Kaufman,
Here.
Councilmember Andrews,
Here.
Councilmember Bergen, Mayor Pro Tem Coombs,
Present.
Councilmember Gardner. Councilmember Hancock. Councilmember Horton.
Here.
Councilmember Jackson.
Here.
Councilmember Lawson. Councilmember Medina.
Here.
Councilmember Wiles.
Here.
There's a quorum.
Please join me in an invocation. O Lord, our God and our Father, we come to you and we ask that you look upon this particular gathering tonight to keep us safe and guide us in our decisions. Bless our city with honorable citizens, industry, sound education, and good government. Unite our community together, even though we come from different backgrounds. We pray that there be justice and peace in our city. Give the city council and citizens the wisdom, direction, and sensitivity to the business and proceedings before us tonight. Hear us, therefore, as we commit this meeting to the help of our community. Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Land acknowledgement. The City of Aurora acknowledges that we gather on the territories and ancestral homelands of the Cheyenne, Ute, Arapaho, and Lakota peoples, past and present. We also recognize the 48 contemporary tribal nations that are historically tied to the lands that make up the state of Colorado. Indigenous peoples have remained committed to the stewardship of this land over many centuries. As these words of acknowledgement are spoken and heard, the ties that these nations have to their traditional homelands and to their vital place in the ecosystem are renewed and reaffirmed. And we are called to be better stewards of the land we inhabit as we continue to work to meet the needs of our entire community. Executive session update. Executive session covered litigation and personnel matters. Motion is in order for the approval of the minutes for January 12, 2026.
Mayor,
Mayor Pro Tem.
so moved.
It's moved by Mayor Pro Tem, seconded by
Second.
Councilmember Horton. Discussion? Seeing no discussion, call for the question on the adoption of the minutes for January 12, 2026.
Mayor Kaufman.
Mayor votes yes.
Councilmember Horton.
Approve. Sorry, I'm trying to get logged into eScribe now.
Okay. Councilmember Andrews.
Approved.
The motion passes unanimously to adopt the January 12th, 2026 City Council meeting minutes.
Councilmember Andrews.
Mayor, point of privilege.
Granted.
I wanted to address some of the events that happened previously. On Saturday, January 17th, I was pulled over by Aurora Police Department and cited in connection with a DUI allegation. It's an active legal matter, so I cannot comment on specifics. I will say clearly, though, like every citizen, I have the right to due process. And there are parts of what has been claimed and documented that I don't believe is true, including inconsistencies. I am addressing through the proper channels. I also want the community to hear this from me. I take this situation seriously, and I understand the responsibility that comes with public service. I have spent my entire career thus far as a community leader, working with various nonprofits and many boards and commissions, and spending my free time helping neighbors and community members. Accountability has to be more than words. While this plays out, I am voluntarily registering for a restorative justice class, working with MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, and taking proactive steps to ensure this never happens again in any form. I am committed to rebuilding trust and continuing to serve Aurora with integrity, humility, and follow through. Out of respect for my family, I appreciate the privacy. Thank you.
Next issue before us, next question before us is the adoption of the agenda. Motion is in order.
Mayor,
Mayor Pro Tem.
so moved.
It's moved by Mayor Pro Tem, seconded by Councilmember Wiles to approve the agenda. Discussion? Seeing none, call for the question on the adoption of the agenda.
Mayor Kaufman,
Mayor votes yes.
Councilmember Andrews.
Approved.
The motion passes unanimously to adopt the agenda.
Public comment announcement. The City Council has established this public forum to receive input from the community. The public invited to be heard portion of the meeting is limited by council rules to a total of 1 hour, with each speaker allotted 3 minutes. Speakers signed up to comment on agenda items are also limited to 3 minutes, and comments must relate directly to the item being considered. All participants are expected to observe the same standards of decorum as the council. Personal attacks, disruptive behavior, and demonstrations are prohibited. Please show respect to all speakers, regardless of whether you agree with their comments or not, and allow everyone the opportunity to be heard. Speakers who exceed the 3-minute time limit reduce the opportunity for other speakers. Please be considerate of your fellow residents when preparing your comments. Additionally, please refrain from using profanity. Public invited to be heard.
First person we have is Susan Tabachek, followed by Tanya Tabachek. Okay, then we have
And
Tanya.
I want to remind everybody, not to, if they're speaking, if there's an agenda item, don't speak on that agenda item when it comes up and not on public invited to be heard. And please, when you come up, state your name and whether or not you're from the city of Aurora.
Yes, it's Tanya Tabchik. I live in Aurora. Good evening, or greetings, Mayor, council members, and audience. I'm speaking today about the recent news regarding the DOA arrest of Councilmember Andrews. I am upset and disappointed that the mayor and the council did not rally behind him with support and guidance. I see the council as a team, dysfunctional at times, but still a team. And once you're a team, you remain part of it. I've been on many teams, including the United States Air Force, and no one is perfect. We all make mistakes, and he acknowledged it. What frustrates me also is seeing the same negative story repeated, with only a couple of people offering him reassurance. There should be more support to help him succeed and to show the public that acknowledging a mistake is met with guidance and atonement. I also want to thank City Manager Jason Batchelor for responding to my concern and arranging a phone call with an individual. Lastly, regarding drones, the city needs to be transparent by updating maps and showing residents how the zones work so that people don't mistakenly think that they're specifically spying them and whatnot and watching them. With so much misinformation already, clarity is essential for keeping our community united despite differing opinions. Thank you.
Hashim Coates, followed by Ali DeWills Marcano. Okay, Ali DeWills Marcano.
Jason, do you know who that TV is? That ours?
No, those are three. We have three outside positions. He's here. I'm not sure why.
Good evening, City Council. I'm here for the fourth meeting in a row, as I plan to be here every time until you take action on accessibility in these chambers. My name, my disability, and my affiliations haven't changed. I'm still Allie DeWills Marcano. I'm still a resident of Ward 4, and as always, my testimony does not necessarily reflect the opinions of any employer, association, or family member. I want to begin with some history because what's happening here is not an accident, and it's not new. From the late 1800s through much of the 20th century, U.S. cities, including here in Colorado, enforced what were known as ugly laws. Disabled people were labeled in law as unsightly or disgusting, and our mere presence in public spaces like these chambers was criminalized, punished by fines, arrest, or institutionalization. Some of these laws lingered until the passage of the American Disabilities Act in 1990. That is not ancient history. Ugly laws were about removing disabled people from public life, out of sight, out of civic spaces, and out of political participation. The same discrimination shows up when public buildings remain inaccessible and when our access is deprioritized. When disabled people are expected to navigate workarounds, back entrances, unsafe tiny boxes, or endless delays just to participate in public meetings. 2 weeks ago, I stood here and made a very small ask. I did not ask for a vote. I asked for council members to do the bare minimum of governance. Ask the city manager whether plans and budget information already exist to make City Hall accessible. Because of your rules on public comment, we cannot have a dialogue while I am speaking here. But like so many of my fellow disabled people, I've learned to break down all sorts of barriers. And like a squeaky lift with a secret key, I've got an inequitable and awkward public workaround. You can't speak now, but you can raise your hand. Council members, if you followed through in the last 2 weeks and asked the city manager for plans and budget information related to City Hall accessibility, please raise your hand. That is disappointing. This is not the first time that delays have amounted to discrimination in Aurora, but I hope it is the last. This should not be an overwhelming request. You have been granted immense power by the voters, and all you have to do is ask the question. Disabled people have been raising this issue for more than a decade. We've been deprioritized and delayed and ignored, and you have an incredible opportunity to do something tangible and permanent. Please do not delay any further. Every meeting this building remains inaccessible is another reminder that disabled people are not expected to accommodate government, but that government is not, or rather that we are expected to accommodate government, and government is not expected to accommodate us. Please present a public timeline for making this podium and that dais accessible. No more, oh yeah, we gotta get to that. No more, aw shucks, that's embarrassing. No more passing the buck to other council or another committee. No more pretending accessibility is some future aspiration instead of a present obligation. City Hall is not accessible. Disabled residents have told you that repeatedly, and history shows us exactly what happens when governments respond to exclusion with silence. I will keep coming back, and so will this issue.
Chanel Butler, followed by Javier Gurola Vargas.
Should I tell council?
It's, the rules don't allow response, so you can say that if you want. So it wasn't that they agree or disagree. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, good evening, Aurora City Council officials. My name is Chanel Butler, and I'm here representing Kaiser Permanente. I'm also a board member of the Aurora Chamber of Commerce. I am a proud Aurora resident, and most importantly, I'm a mother of 2 teenage boys. I'll start by sharing that Kaiser Permanente is a strong supporter of the tobacco retail licensing ordinance. In my 18-year tenure with Kaiser Permanente, I've worked with patients, physicians, allied health professionals, and they all support it as well. Currently, I lead teams across the nation who support employers who are advocating for the health of their employees and their families. And one thing that they always ask for is that Kaiser Permanente prioritizes preventable health. And I hope that you see that employers, they choose Kaiser Permanente not just as a benefit, but as a responsibility to their workforce to keep them healthy. That context matters here because I hope that you'll see that support for this ordinance is support for youth, support for healthy communities, and healthy workforce. In Colorado, tobacco remains the leading cause of preventable death, contributing to 5,000 deaths per year. In addition, 1 of 4 Colorado students have tried an e-cigarette. Even more disturbing, 85% of teens who try to obtain tobacco or nicotine products from a retailer are not turned away. These numbers make it clear that the time for this ordinance is now. KP, Kaiser Permanente, has been a longtime supporter of Tobacco 21 laws, but laws are not enough. This ordinance will make it enforceable. We all agree that items like firearms and alcohol need this type of licensing. And given the addictive nature of tobacco, especially flavored tobacco products, which make it harder to quit, easier to start, and result in very detrimental health outcomes that take decades to reverse. This product, tobacco, it needs the same kind of ordinance. Kaiser Permanente has served this state as the largest nonprofit healthcare organization for 55 years, and we urge City Council officials to support this ordinance. Thank you for your time and all you do to support our beautiful city.
Javier Gurola Vargas. Javier Gurola Vargas. Okay, Juan Marcano, followed by Connor Riley.
All right, there we go. Ready when y'all are. All right, good evening, Council. My name is Juan Marcano. I'm a resident of Ward 4. I'm here to speak with you all tonight about the foolhardy lawsuit against the state of Colorado pertaining to House Bill 24-1313 and 1304 that the city of Aurora is currently a party to. Our city is in the extreme minority of home rule cities that are out of compliance with a very reasonable land use and housing framework set by the state government. I find this to be really embarrassing and self-defeating for our city because what we're doing is we're spending resources, public resources, to oppose more housing options, to oppose more transportation options, while advocating for wasting land and sprawling with more car-dependent infrastructure that y'all know full well we cannot afford to build, let alone maintain over the coming decades. The framework that state law requires still allows you all, as our duly elected officials, to set the local conditions and the regulations around those based off of local conditions, apologies. You can also go beyond the state's framework. For example, rather than eliminating parking minimums, as the state law has a framework requirement for, y'all can actually set parking maximums in TODs to encourage developers to prioritize housing and commercial use over car storage. Dropping this suit would be a sign of good faith. It shows that y'all want to be team players with the rest of the jurisdictions in the metro and through the state. But that's just the start. Y'all need to rework the city's Unified Development Ordinance. You need to make a U-turn away from the endless monomodal, low-density sprawl that, again, you all know cannot keep up with housing demands and makes connecting our residents and our services all that more difficult over time, especially as we sprawl ever eastward. You know that the existing pattern of development is not able to generate enough revenue to maintain our roads, to provide adequate fire stations, adequate parks, and other amenities that all of our residents depend on. The city faces a large budget deficit and a massive deferred maintenance backlog. So doubling down on what got us to this position by continuing to be a party to this lawsuit is irresponsible at best. So I'm asking y'all tonight, please drop the suit, take advantage of the millions on the table from the state, and put our planning department to work actually planning an economically and environmentally sustainable city. We need a place-based plan that actually puts amenities closer to where people live, mass transit options that actually interconnect our communities, and a complete streets policy to ensure that our city is safe and livable now and into the future. No more rubber stamps for low-density development and sprawl. Please drop the lawsuit. Thank you all for your time.
Connor Riley, followed by Ryan Stitzel. Connor Riley. Okay, Ryan Stitzel.
Actually, didn't know that was a thing. That's really cool. Thanks, Juan. I'm sure by now you guys know why I'm here. For about a month, DACAC and others in the community have been coming to these meetings to demand some pretty simple things from this council. The first and easiest is the immediate removal of Todd Chamberlain as chief of police. His history of racism and misconduct goes back decades. This history has continued in Aurora as he's repeatedly excused the actions of racist killer cops. He's shamelessly lied to the public and to the families impacted by these killings. He's a blight on our city, and removing him should be as simple as instructing your city manager to do so. So make it happen. Second, and this is the most important part, the community as a whole needs to be the one picking his replacement. Not only that, the community needs to have the final say over every aspect of how its police function. DACAC is a local chapter of the National Alliance Against Racist and Political Repression, which has been pushing forward the fight for community control of the police for over 50 years. We are made up of members of this community and are constantly growing our connection with our neighbors. We're hearing from them loud and clear that they want community control of the police, and they want it yesterday. When I go out into the community and I tell them about this, they say, why do we not already have this? This is a no-brainer. Of course we should be in control. You may not be in a position to make this happen overnight, but you can publicly affirm your commitment to seeing this through. Your constituents want this, and firmly supporting it can only win you favor in most of your wards. Change is coming to Aurora Police. The community will bring these rabid dogs to heel with or without your help. But I encourage you to do the right thing and stand with the people in their righteous fight for control over the police. And since I have some extra time, I'm going to say, give this woman a fucking ramp. By God.
Ayante Anderson, followed by Median Schaffner.
Good evening, Mayor and 6 city council members. I would like to speak to the empty chairs in this room this evening. Stephanie Hancock, Curtis Gardner, Angela Lawson, and Francois Bergen. Because tonight, those empty chairs are not neutral. They are not accidental, and they are not harmless. Isaiah 10, verses 1 and 2 says, "Woe to those who make unjust laws, to those who issue oppressive decrees, to deprive the poor of their rights and withhold justice from the oppressed of my people, making widows their prey and robbing the fatherless." I chose this verse because it speaks directly to what is happening in our country, and the people that should be sitting right now in these chairs refused to show up. So let us be clear. The President of the United States stood on national stages and named this city as the symbol of a criminal takeover by those who were seeking a better life in this country. He pushed false narratives that the mayor and the former chief of police disputed, saying that Trinde Aragua was taking over the city of Aurora. He branded his mass deportation effort as Operation Aurora, turning your city into a political prop. And instead of defending this city, these council members enabled him, along with those of the former council. That is not leadership, that is cowardice. You don't get to hide behind law and order slogans while refusing to stand before the people you swore an oath to serve. You don't get to pretend neutrality when your silence and alignment made Aurora a national target for anti-immigrant hysteria. This enforcement has a body count. ICE has killed American citizens. ICE has killed unarmed people. ICE has killed people who pose no threat. ICE has killed people in front of their families. ICE has killed people through routine traffic stops. ICE has killed people in the streets as late as this weekend. So, let me say this very clearly. The conservative members that chose not to attend tonight, history will remember what you did when your city was being used as an attack. Shame on those who refuse to show up.
Median Schaffner, followed by Kiowa Lewis.
I personally think that it's a beautiful irony that there are individuals that did not fill their seats tonight. There is this thing called vacate your seat. So if those that are not here do not want to show back up, we are okay with that. So I am coming tonight to speak yet again on the matter of Rajon Belt Stubblefield. I was firsthand witness to that man being baited into his own execution. And despite what you may have heard about the reason my statement has not been received, which I would argue is an excuse and is not correct, this CIRT investigation that is supposed to be oh so unbiased has clearly prepped itself and postured itself to be biased. I have always been willing to give witness to what I saw, and I was the one that was screaming that Rajon Belt Stubblefield needed aid, and several officers ignored that. I was the one pleading that a less lethal option was an option in that engagement, yet Matthew Neely decided to execute Rajon, shooting him in the head. And so we've been advised that Officer Matthew Neely is back on duty. Shame. He's likely sitting behind a desk, but I want to make sure that we understand that there are key roles that are played behind a desk. Desk duty often means that you are the one receiving complaints and you're the entry point for a community. I wonder how Rajon Belt Stubblefield's family would feel if Officer Matthew Neely was the one that they had to engage with if they wanted to engage with the police. On desk duty, you can also be someone that is managing paperwork that's tied to investigations. The city hasn't even let us know if this officer committed a crime, yet you're giving him the authority to engage with active policing assignments. The decorum of the Aurora City Police has always been problematic, but it is very harmonic to the policing that we've seen in this country since its establishment. So to the members that are on this city council that assured us that you stood with these families? I'm here to tell you tonight from the families, your time is up. If we don't see action, we will come in numbers.
Kiowa Lewis, followed by Cassandra Hill. Cassandra Hill, followed by Joel Benjamin.
Good evening, Aurora City Council. My name is Cassandra, and I'm a member of the Denver Aurora Community Action Committee, otherwise known as DACAG. I'm here tonight because I attended the public meetings on the police department's proposed facial recognition AI, and what I witnessed was a masterclass in dismissal. I asked questions written off in the chat, questions about community control, about the profound distrust that fills this city. The officer presenting refused to even acknowledge that distrust exists. He made empty statements about working hard to rebuild trust with no evidence, while ignoring every single person who comes to these very chambers demanding real change. That is the problem. You cannot impose surveillance technology on a community that does not trust you, and that distrust is earned. How can we possibly trust APD with this tool when there is a non-zero chance they will share our faces and data with agencies like ICE, an agency that has been executing people recently in broad daylight? You ask us to trust a pipeline of surveillance that leads directly to deportation and death. Now we hear some on this council talk about police reform, and the answer is always more training. I read the Gazette article, but the police themselves say they have excellent training. Which is it? If the training is so excellent, why do we need more of it to stop the harassment, the brutality, the killings? More training is not a solution, it's a deflection. It's a way for you to brush off the issue. The police claim this training builds trust, but let me be clear. Training has not stopped them from killing people in our streets. I'm in the community every day talking to people. DACAG has a list of hundreds of Aurorians who support community control because they have seen the violence. Trust is not built by a mobile video game trailer. That's not reform. That's a $250,000 PR Band-Aid bought with our money. Trust is built when people feel safe, when violent cops are fired and prosecuted, when power is taken from a broken department and given to the people. Which brings me to the ultimate insult. Police Chief Todd Chamberlain makes over $250,000 a year, while city programs are cut. The people should have a say in that. Our tax dollars should fund housing, mental health services, and community, not a chief who covers up murders in a department that buys propaganda instead of providing safety. So we demand concrete action, not talking points. First, halt all plans for facial recognition AI. You have no trust to spend on that technology, and we will not be fed into a system that aids ICE. Second, end the more training charade. We demand you work with this council to establish a civilian police accountability council with the power to hire, fire, set policy, and control budget. And third, we demand a review of exorbitant police salaries, starting at the top, to reallocate funds to what actually keeps us safe. Stop managing a crisis, start listening to the people who live it. Thank you.
Joel Benjamin, followed by Jamie Jackson. Joel Benjamin.
Hi, members of council. You're used to me. I have a lot to say. I didn't write a lot of it down, so this will be fun. I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge that the Kaufman clan is mysteriously absent. Where are they? Where are your colleagues? Where's my Ward 4 counselor? I know some members of this council are mentally vacuous, but they're usually here at least in body. Are they busy lying about human decency on the Dan Bongino show? Speaking of fascists, I'd like to take a moment that former Councilor Jurinsky's chosen political leader has chosen to continue this country's long history of police violence by enacting yet another public execution of an American citizen in the streets. Alex Preddy, Renee Good, the two of them had Colorado ties. They're not the only ones who've suffered this violence, of course, but they're in the news. This council has a long history of turning a blind eye to state-sanctioned executions. Due process is the very minimum expectation in this country. A lot of folks have said a lot of things tonight that I hope to all of you tie together as a through line. We're talking about accountability of our municipal police. We're talking about accountability of federal death squads. Spanish newspapers call these public executions. It's not incidental. Every one of these is a policy choice. I have a hard time keeping all the names in the right order in my head. That's a personal failing. I don't get the years right. I mix up specific incidents. But some of that should be reflective of the sheer volume of the violence that this council has turned a blind eye to over the past several years. Lighten the mood for a moment. My favorite film, it's the second Austin Powers, but I want to talk about the first for a moment. Dr. Evil makes the choice to try to put his political enemy to death with, I think I got the quote, unnecessarily slow-moving dipping mechanism. I think this goes for about 10 minutes. Can we get a damn elevator that works in here?
Jamie Jackson, followed by Eric Gross.
Oh, again, if you would please give your name and whether you are an Aurora resident or not, please.
Jamie Jackson. Eric Gross, followed by Carolyn Leland. Okay, Carolyn Leland, followed by Giovanni Ariano Morales.
Good evening, council members and Mayor Kaufman. My name is Caroline Leland, and I work for the Housing Forward Colorado campaign at the Southwest Energy Efficiency Project, also known as SWEEP. I am here tonight to testify in favor of the City of Aurora leaving the lawsuit against House Bill 1304, which requires cities to offer more parking flexibility for new housing near transit, and House Bill 1313, which encourages more multifamily and affordable housing near transit. My team has found that the vast majority of cities are complying with these laws. In many cases, cities are not only meeting the policy floors of these laws, but going above and beyond. Why are they doing this? 3 reasons. The state laws are built on best practices in planning and land use development that improve housing affordability, reduce environmental impacts, and make communities more walkable, all priorities in alignment with city goals. Number 2, there's strong potential for state and local policies to support and complement one another as Colorado works to address its housing affordability crisis. And number 3, cities want access and priority for the $280 million in state grant programs tied to these laws. At least 21 local governments have complied with the state's parking reform law, with half a dozen of these exceeding state minimum requirements, like Longmont, Boulder, and Denver, each of which eliminated parking mandates citywide for all uses. More suburban cities like Commerce City, Wheat Ridge, Broomfield, and Lakewood have also complied with the law to make it easier and cheaper to build housing. And as of October of last year, almost 70% of subject jurisdictions were either compliant or in the process of complying with House Bill 1313, the Transit-Oriented Communities Law. Perhaps the most controversial piece of the TOC law is the zoning capacity requirements. But of all cities in Colorado, Aurora has the most development capacity already established near transit. In fact, Aurora has no height or density restrictions in transit-oriented development zones, meaning the city is extremely close to already complying with the TOC law. All that's missing is a couple of tweaks and the simple formality of submitting a report to the state. Not only is the lawsuit a waste of the city's limited financial resources, but by fighting the state on the parking and TOC laws, Aurora is depriving itself of state grants. The state offers 34 grants totaling more than $280 million that Aurora is making itself much less competitive for. If you drop the lawsuit, minimally update your TOC zoning, and adjust your parking code in the ongoing Unified Development Ordinance update, you'll have access to all of that money. This is especially important given Aurora's $21 million budget shortfall. My team and I at SWEEP are available to support you in any way if you decide to move forward with accessing new grant money and making your city more affordable and climate friendly by leaving the lawsuit and implementing these laws. Thank you for your consideration.
Giovanni Ariano Morales.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, and community of Aurora. I am Giovanni. I am an Aurora resident. I attend Gateway High School as a 9th grade freshman. I am a part of Aurora Partners for Striving Youth, and I'm here to talk about the need of a TRL, a tobacco retail license. Because of the fact that children under the age of 11 are getting their hands on substances that harm their brain, and yes, for the people that are over 21, it isn't completely harming them, but for these children who haven't even hit the first stages of puberty, these harmful substances kill their body and they weigh their body functions, all because tobacco, vapes, and smoking devices were accessible. Take what I say as a sign of the way that tobacco harms the youth community of Aurora. I promise you that if nothing is done of this situation, it will only get worse. That's all I wrote. But I want to thank the people here who have come here today for taking the courage to come up here and talk for what is needed. Thank you for having the courage to put one foot in front of the other and saying, I can do this. To the City Council of Aurora, these people come here tonight to seek your help, to tell you what you need to do, because you have the power in order to change what is needed to be changed. So I ask you, do something. Prove that you deserve the spot that you have right now. Be better. Show that you know what is right from wrong. Thank you.
Ellen Wu.
I'm a constituent, I vote. It does not matter whether you were elected or appointed or hired to your position. You're accountable to the people and not to those that you seek political gain or personal gain. You're accountable to the people in regards to the budget. This is the money of the people and it is to be used for services for those people, for the people. The budget is not your personal money account, nor is it to be used for your own personal or political gain. Generational neglect. There are areas, specifically in the areas pre-1970s, that suffer from generational neglect due to past electeds and appointees and hirees who had only their own personal interest in mind and not showing accountability to the people. In the past, I've attended several events which were to be community needs assessments. Those were to be determinants of where the funding was to go. During these events, the community spoke of many items that are social determinants of health. These include, but are not limited to, affordable housing, parks and open space, libraries, clean air, healthy and fresh foods, sustainable infrastructure, including clean and affordable water. I do not recall more gas stations and car washes being on any list. The holes in the roads are getting bigger and deeper. The temporary asphalt patches appear and disappear. Stop wasting the people's money for your own personal or political gains. Fix this chamber. Colorado House Bill 23-1271, signed on June 2nd, 2023. This act designates Lunar New Year as an observed but not legal state holiday on the first Friday in February as Lunar New Year Day in Colorado. This year, that would be February 6, 2026. DEIB, Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, Belonging. Project 2025 is now 1 year in its making, and it has detained more people, and and that needs to go away.
That was the last individual to speak.
The next item before us is the adoption of the consent calendar on motions, item number 10C1 to 10C4. A motion is in order.
Mayor,
Mayor Pro Tem.
move to approve the consent calendar, item 10C1 to 10C4.
It's moved by Mayor Pro Tem, seconded by?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Wiles. Discussion? Seeing no discussion, call for the question on the adoption of the consent calendar on motions, item number 10C1 to 10C4.
Mayor Kaufman,
Mayor votes yes.
Councilmember Andrews.
Agreed.
The motion passes unanimously to adopt the consent calendar for motions.
Next issue before us, agenda item before us, is the adoption of the consent calendar on resolutions and ordinances, item number 11A1 to 11A3. Motion is in order.
Mayor,
Mayor Pro Tem.
move to approve consent calendar items 11A1 through 11A3.
Moved by Mayor Pro Tem, seconded by?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Andrews, to approve the consent calendar on resolutions and ordinances, item number 11A1 to 11A3. Discussion? Seeing no discussion, call for the question on the adoption of the consent calendar on resolutions and ordinances.
Councilmember Andrews. The motion passes unanimously to adopt the consent calendar for resolutions and ordinances.
Clerk, now please read the title to item number 12A.
Item 12A is public hearing and consideration of ordinance 2025-06 for a zoning map amendment to rezone approximately 3.91 acres of land to medium-density residential district located south of the intersection of East Jewel Avenue and South Joliet Street.
Public hearing is now open. Presentation by staff.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. My name is Rashid Rabah, and part of the applicant request, the applicant is requesting continuation to the 23rd meeting for this project.
So just to confirm, the applicant is asking for a continuation to February 23rd?
Yes, the applicant is requesting a continuation to 23rd.
So we,
Mayor,
Mayor Pro Tem.
are they here?
are they present? Like, what is going on? We literally keep having this conversation, and the members of the public keep showing up to speak, taking their time to be here, and then, once again, we're asked to continue it. So I don't understand what's going on with
So
this.
let me make a recommendation just for procedure, because let's go and hear the presentation from staff, and if the applicant's going to make that request, the applicant can make that at the dais when they make their comments, but let's go and go forward with the hearing if that's okay with council.
Okay. Presentation by the applicant.
Or staff.
I'm staff.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor, City Council. My name is Rashid Rabah, and I will be presenting on behalf of staff. The applicant, Urban Cottages LLC, is requesting approval of a zoning map amendment rezone for approximately 3.9 acres from RR Rural Residential District to R2 Medium Density Residential District. The zoning map amendment was recommended for approval by the Planning and Zoning Commission on January 8, 2025. Here is some background and updates for this request. On January 8, 2025, this application was presented to the Zoning Commission as zoning map amendment and a site plan. The Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval of the zoning map amendment, and the site plan was tabled. On March the 3rd, 2025, the applicant held a second virtual neighborhood meeting, part of the request and the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Commission and staff. The staff and the applicant collaborate on the revision of the site plan over several reviews. On September the 24th, 2025, the Planning and Zoning Commission approved the site plan. To recap, the Planning and Zoning Commission approved the site plan and recommended approval of the zoning map amendment to the City Council. Today, we are bringing this application for zoning map amendment rezone for approval by the City Council. The subject property is located south of intersection of East Joel Avenue and South Juliet Street, approximately 900 feet east of Havana Street. The existing zoning is RR, Rural Residential Low Density, and it's surrounded by R1, RR, and R2 Medium Density. The proposed zoning is R2, Medium Density Residential. The objective of R2 Medium Density District is to promote and preserve variety of housing type. Also, the subject property is located within the established neighborhood place type in Aurora Comprehensive Plan. The established neighborhood place type is characterized by predominantly residential area with variety of product type that include single-family detached, attached, and multifamily residential of variety of densities. Zoning map amendment is process that involves the rezoning of one or more properties at the request of the property owner. Its purpose is to align the land use needs within the community while accommodating the development interest. The proposed change should be consistent with community overall objective to the policy detailed in the city comprehensive plan. With that, the zoning map amendment comply with the code criteria for approval for the following reasons. The applications aligns with the objective of the Aurora Comprehensive Plan for the established neighborhood place type. This place type primarily consists of residential area featuring a variety of housing include single-family, detached, attached, and multi-family residential. The plan for urban cottages include development of 30 duplex units. Also, the objective of R2 Medium Density District is to promote and preserve variety of housing types. The applicant demonstrates that change in zoning will not create any dislocation of tenants or occupant of the property. With that, I conclude my presentation. The applicant is available for questions, and he has a presentation for if the City Council wants them to present. Thank you.
Thank you. Presentation by the applicant.
Evening, Mayor and council members. We respectfully ask that that this get continued to the 23rd. We have gone through a lot of process, and we've had a lot of members of the council here before listening to this. We got continued a couple times now, and we'd love the history of this, of our presentations and the background on this to come through with all the members if we could from that perspective.
City Attorney.
So the request is noted in the record. We're going to continue with the hearing, and if that motion is made by council, then it'll be at the end. But Ms. McClellan, a member from my office, will you, just for the new council members' perspective, will you kind of real quickly summarize how we're here today, and maybe that'll help, and then we can hear from the public.
Absolutely. So this item, as Rashid mentioned, went to the Planning and Zoning Commission back in January of 2025. The Planning and Zoning Commission made a recommendation for approval of the zoning map amendment and then continued the site plan at that hearing.
Then the rezoning came to City Council, but City Council at the time had made that decision, and this was back in 2025 before the current council as it is now. They decided that they wanted to wait to move forward with making a decision on the zoning map amendment until Planning Commission had made a decision on the site plan. The site plan did not go back to Planning Commission until recently in September. It was then approved, and then we were able to schedule this hearing.
And so just to summarize, the reason that this was continued is the council wanted to have the site plan approved by planning and zoning before they approved the zoning change.
That is
which is a little out of the ordinary of the process, but there was some concern raised by the residents about the density and some other factors. And so the site plan has now been approved, and now what's before council is whether or not you approve the zoning change. And now we know from the applicant they're going to be asking for a continuance, but if that's the end of your presentation, we'll hear from the public, but that's your request. Is that correct?
Yes, thank you.
Does anybody wish to be heard on this issue?
Yes, the first person is Gary Peterson.
Good evening, Council, Mayor. I welcome the new council members to this hearing. My name is Gary Pedersen. I'm an abutting property owner to this issue. And I'd just like to make a few points clear. This original hearing took place almost a year ago, and at that hearing, Councilwoman Coombs put forth an advancement of this zoning change based on this adding residential density to the neighborhood within linkage to RTD transit routes and also walkability to residential support businesses. Well, things have changed since a year ago. This has been postponed many times. D.R. Horton has kind of answered that density situation with the Arcadia development, which consists of 546 units, 180 paired homes, 368 townhomes within the same area as this development. So the density issue, adding density for consideration, has already been handled by a company massively with this new development. Also, Mrs. Coombs said this is an RTD-linked transit route within walking distance. The reality is people buying paired homes at $500,000 to $600,000 do not ride RTD. That's a joke. And they don't walk to businesses that support residential services. That's also a myth. So the very grounds that you moved this issue forward have all been debunked and invalid. So for that reason alone, you should deny this application for rezoning. But furthermore, there was a petition, I hope you've all seen, of 220 residents in this neighborhood that they signed that they don't want this rezoning. They want it to be less dense, so maybe a friendly compromise to R1 could be considered, but they certainly don't want this zoning change. I'm a little bit dismayed that this evening our representative isn't here, Stephanie Hancock, to actually speak up for this ward. But that's the way it is right now, so we'll work with that. I think, and finally, I would like to say that the city government governs those in this neighborhood. And you should listen to what their voice is. 220 residents in this neighborhood don't want this. An outside entity wants it. They want to jam 30 homes on this difficult site, which is, if you visit the site.
Shayna Shabatura, followed by Kyle Weber.
Hello, Mayor and City Council members. My name is Shayna Shabatura. I'm a resident of Ward 4. Tomorrow, like Gary mentioned, marks 1 year since this agenda item first came before council, and this Sunday marks 6 months since their applicant's last submission. That timeline matters. The initial proposal was submitted in August of 2021. Since then, there have been 6 more submissions, 2 neighborhood meetings, and within the last year, 7 continuations. Tonight would be the 8th. What was unclear is why this item was even before council today. In the city's response to their most recent submission, city staff stated, quote, "Several important issues remain. Please revise your previous work and send us a technical submission after the Planning Commission public hearing." That hearing was in September. Those unresolved issues also matter, from life safety and accessibility to land development and the application, or lack thereof, to XL to address the existing natural gas distribution main running north-south through the middle of the property. Unresolved neighborhood concerns include density, site design, tree preservation, water-wise landscaping, parking, and whether this development is appropriate for a constrained site with existing infrastructure and natural resources. If the goal of this project is innovation, then innovation should be evident. Smaller, more thoughtful units, a functional green court, bike infrastructure, a design that fits its surroundings rather than overwhelms them. An exemplary micro-infill development, one that sets a standard of testing the limits of, instead of testing the limits of an established neighborhood. While certain technical boxes may or may not be checked, the deeper concerns raised by city staff and residents remain. There has been limited preparation for the site's constraints, and residents continue to speak up despite fatigue and shifting timelines because this site matters. We don't need to wait for the results of Aurora's environmental equity and cumulative impact analysis to understand what's at stake. There is already overwhelming empirical evidence linking trees, parks, and natural views to community health and happiness. Tonight, I respectfully ask council to consider a friendly amendment to this upzoning request and bring R1 into question. This site is locally cherished, and if it will change, then let it change for the better, so future residents inherit not just housing, but a place designed for livability, environmental care, and human happiness. Ultimately, several important issues remain. Addressing them now would not delay progress, it would improve it. Thank you so much.
Kyle Weber, followed by Juan Marcano.
Good evening. My name is Kyle Weber, and I'm an Aurora resident, and I repeat what she says as well. But I oppose the urban cottages development and rezoning. This project has been in development and planning for 4 years now. During that time frame, there's been numerous amounts of issues and very limited communication stemming from the urban cottages team. We're concerned because we and the planning and development departments have a plethora of issues and concerns that have been brought up and not addressed sufficiently by the developers. Insurance, retaining walls, project funding, etc. We only get answers to the questions that they feel worthy of being addressed. Another concern is, why does Urban Cottages have no finished developments to show for on their website? A website that is only a homepage and was last updated 4 years ago. It speaks to lack of planning and follow-through. It can also be seen on their site plan. This military barrack style is the most basic site plan, and it still has issues that they want adjustments to the zoning codes to make it work. I work in the construction field, and if I was asked to ask the authority having jurisdiction to make an amendment on a code for my build, they would laugh at me. I know it's not illegal to have no experience, nor is it illegal to have a bad website, nor even a lackluster site plan, but it should be raising some red flags as to the credibility of this company. Is it ethical to approve this rezoning and site plan? Are they going to be able to organize and maintain a project of this caliber? The neighborhood has a realistic fear of them going bankrupt and stopping project midstream. I understand that there's a push for medium and high density affordable housing right now. We want to put on the record that we are not opposed to development, just opposed to the developments that are out of place and trying to be crammed in areas that they don't need to be in. Just because there's an open lot of land doesn't mean that we need to build high-density or even medium-density living there. It is okay to reserve some areas for normal housing and not infill on every open lot, especially in a case like this. And it's not going to be even affordable housing. This is simply a case of a company seeing an opportunity to try and extract as much money from a project as possible. We as a community still feel that an R1 zoning would be appropriate for this location, and that urban cottages in the PCS group would be able to maximize their profits even with cul-de-sacs and houses. We have spoken so much about this development not being compatible with the surrounding areas. We have spoken about the mitigating impacts of the environment on the community. We just ask that you please do the right thing, represent the community that voted you in. Listen to the community, please. Thank you.
Juan Marcano, followed by Melissa Berglund.
Alrighty, good evening again, Council. I am actually here tonight in support of item 12A and the rezoning of this property to R2. Some of y'all who were here in 2021 are probably familiar with the Habitat for Humanity rezone. For those of y'all who weren't, I'm going to give you a little bit of quick background. So Havana Heights, where this parcel sits, is a really eclectic and unique neighborhood in Aurora. If y'all haven't spent much time there, highly encourage you. I'm happy to walk y'all around. It has a mixture of R1, R2, R3, and mixed-use commercial zoning. It hosts a high-quality park, a busy fire station with a community room, and it has something else that is actually really rare in our city: walkable distance to restaurants, grocery stores, entertainment venues, and the 105, which is one of RTD's busiest bus lines in the metro. It is a really, really special part of Ward 4. Havana Heights also predates the Americans with Disability Act, which is why there are segments of the community that lack sidewalks and have inconsistent road design. If you pop open your maps, your phone, Google Maps on your phone, you'll see what I'm talking about. There are actually no sidewalks in this area, no bike lanes or any of that other good stuff that we are taking for granted as we develop other parts of the city. As I mentioned earlier, the city also doesn't have the money to modernize and maintain our infrastructure. But new developments must bring the adjacent infrastructure up to date. Everyone who walks or drives or rolls on Jewel will benefit from an upzone and a subsequent project being built. Finally, this area, as was mentioned earlier, is one of the rare parts of Aurora that actually has tremendous opportunity for infill because there's existing infrastructure and it is in close proximity to services and other things that draw people to our city. The proposed rezone and site plan before you are going to provide more housing options for current and future Aurorans without displacing anybody and without having to sprawl all the way out to Schumacher Road. The parcel directly across the street from this property is already zoned to R2. The property to the west is R1. However, if you look at it, it looks like it might be used as like a bit of a junkyard. There's a lot of old cars and trucks there. And then if you look to the property to the west of that, it looks like it's an auto body shop as opposed to an R2 property as it's currently zoned. Then if you go to the west, you're right there on Havana. You're right next to Katsu Ramen, which is one of my favorite places in the city to eat. Highly recommended if you guys have not been. All that said, this proposal actually matches the character of the slow and steady growth of Havana Heights. My only critique of the site plan is that they appear to have done away with the alleys. This actually used to have alleys which provided a safer environment for children and folks who want to actually, ride bikes on, what is it called there, Jewel Avenue. I'm sorry, on Jewel Place, not on Jewel Avenue. And also would have provided a better streetscape for folks who are driving down Jewel. It would actually look like a proper community. So urge you all to approve the rezone when it does come up before you. And I hope that the site plan can move forward and that it looks more like the conceptual plan as opposed to the current plan. Thank you.
Melissa Berglund. Okay, that was the last individual.
Ms. McClellan, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to take a brief moment to just Remind the council that tonight, the only item that you're considering is the zoning map amendment. There was some comments about the site plan. The site plan is not before you. The site plan has already been approved by Planning Commission, and it is not come before council. So just wanted to remind everyone that you should be considering the criteria that's on your screen for a zoning map amendment. I know that this was continued to wait for the site plan to be approved, but that's not part of the criteria.
Okay, questions of staff or the applicant?
Mayor.
Mayor Pro Tem.
So I guess there's the question of delay, and the folks who spoke, it sounds like they are asking for changes in any case to what's being requested. So I guess I'm just trying to understand if the delay will provide for additional conversation with the residents or simply is to ensure that all council members are present. And also noting that we can never guarantee that all the council members will be present.
Please.
I'm sorry, Mayor Pro Tem, was that a question for staff or the applicant?
I'm sorry, for the applicant, yeah. Is that simply to ensure council is present or to enable further discussion?
Thank you, council member. It's really more related to the first one where we just like to make sure that as many of the previous council members that had heard this already, we had gone through a public forum already. We've gone through comments. We've gone through site plan, has been mentioned. So we've been pretty far on the road with this, and we just wanted to make sure that everybody had the opportunity and had the history before to also hear this.
Further questions of the staff or the applicant? Seeing none, the public hearing is closed. A motion is in order.
Mayor,
Mayor Pro Tem.
move to continue the item to the February 23rd council meeting.
The motion is made by Mayor Pro Tem to move it to, I'm sorry, what date?
February 23rd.
February 23rd. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, seconded by Councilmember Horton. Discussion? Seeing no discussion, call for the question on the motion by Mayor Pro Tem.
Mayor Kaufman.
Mayor votes yes.
Councilmember Andrews.
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously to continue this item to the February 23rd council meeting.
Will the clerk now please read the title to item number 12B?
Item 12B is a public hearing consideration of ordinance 2026-01, amending the 2018 comprehensive plan to reduce the planning and annexation area boundary.
Public hearing is now open. Presentation by staff.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. My name is Daniel Krasnowski. I'm with the Planning and Business Development Department. I'm joined by Alexander Davis with Aurora Water. This item is an amendment to the city's comprehensive plan to amend the planning and annexation boundary portion of that plan. This is an item that was discussed at study session 2 weeks ago by council. We had a pretty lengthy presentation. We're happy to present that or portions of that or answer questions. But I did want to, for the record, make a couple points on this type of amendment to the comprehensive plan. The Unified Development Ordinance provides some process and criteria for making an amendment. The first does require a public hearing. Secondly, it does require at least a 2/3 majority of the entire membership of council to vote to approve this. There are some very straightforward approval criteria. All of those are listed on page 300 of your packet under legal comments. At this time, staff will be happy to answer any questions about this item or provide any illustrations.
Does anybody wish to speak on this issue?
No.
Public hearing is, what? Oh, questions to staff, I'm sorry. Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Motion is in order.
Mayor,
Mayor Pro Tem.
move to approve item 12B.
Moved by Mayor Pro Tem, seconded by
Second.
Councilmember Wiles, to approve item number 12B. Discussion?
Mayor?
Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes, I would just like to thank staff for being incredibly thoughtful, sharing a lot of information with the Water Policy Committee last year, and taking into consideration whether or not we have the water to just grow halfway to Kansas, as we like to say, as well as whether we have the water to continue providing to any outside jurisdictions that are adjacent that are interested in developing along our boundaries. So thank you all for the work and the discussions. I think this is an appropriate and important first step in looking at sustainability and the issue of sprawl in our city.
Further discussion? I just want to say too, I think the plan reflects the reality we're in terms of what are sustainable policies relative to water. Further discussion? Seeing none, call for the question on the approval of item number 12B.
So, on this item, on this next reading, we gotta have 7 votes, 2/3. So I guess we would have it with you. I don't know, you wouldn't vote, so we gotta have, so you remember in mind.
So our members.
So, I think we have to have at least 7.
By council rules, that means it, I think, goes to the next council meeting.
Correct, the next council meeting, we gotta have 7. Just my,
Yeah, it can be introduced, it can be introduced with 6, but I think it has to have.
it can be right, but Sorry, what we're discussing is for the second reading after this, it requires 7 votes on the second reading, and we only have 6 members present, so we're just making that for the record.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Councilmember Andrews?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously with 6 yes votes for item 12B.
We'll go now previously to the top item number 13A.
Item 13A is ordinance 2026-02, authorizing the use of lease purchase financing to acquire certain equipment pursuant to the terms of an equipment lease purchase agreement by and between the Aurora Capital Leasing Corporation as lessor and the City of Aurora, Colorado as lessee, authorizing officials of the city to take all action necessary to carry out the transactions contemplated hereby and other related matters.
Brief presentation by staff.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Teresa Sedmak. I am your City Treasurer, and I am here to introduce ordinance number 2026-02. I apologize, my camera doesn't seem to be working this evening, but this ordinance is authorizing the use of lease purchase agreement for the acquisition of equipment for the improvement of the city's 5 golf courses. The equipment includes 64 golf carts with lithium batteries, 31 course maintenance vehicles, and other related equipment. The ordinance calls for a maximum principal amount of the borrowing of $1.8 million, a maximum interest rate of 5.25%, and a maximum term of 60 months. I'm happy to entertain any questions you have about the ordinance, and I thank you for your consideration.
Questions of staff? Seeing none, motion is in order.
Mayor, motion to approve 13A.
Moved by Councilmember Medina, seconded by Councilmember Andrews. Discussion? Seeing none, call for the question on the adoption of item number 13A.
Councilmember Andrews?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously to adopt item 13A.
Thank you.
Okay, reports. Councilmember Andrews.
No report, Mayor.
Mayor Pro Tem Coombs.
Thank you, Mayor. A few items first. We will have an at-large town hall on AI and surveillance on Wednesday, February 4th at 6 p.m. at the Aurora Center for Active Adults. And then I have been pleased over the last few weeks to be able to participate in the first Community Partner Collective meeting through APS, the MLK wreath laying ceremony, the Immigrant Justice Steering Committee for Local Progress, and the Ice Out Solidarity Strike with Minnesota on January 23rd with my union, SEIU Local 105. And at our last meeting, our council stood firm that we oppose violence, we oppose unlawful acts by ICE, and we impose overreaching enforcement activities. In that time, another person has been killed by ICE in broad daylight. ICE has been seen stalking school bus stops and intimidating our kids and their families here in Aurora. And as noted by some of our community members who continue tirelessly to show up, this type of conduct is unfortunately not new. Though for those of us who are white, watching it to happen to people who look like us may be new. But it is not new for the folks who live in our city and walk on our streets every day. It's something they've experienced from our police department and had excused as quote unquote justified murder. And so I would like to share the words of Matt Moberg, the chaplain of the Minnesota Timberwolves, somewhat abridged because it's a long comment, but don't call silence peacemaking. Peace isn't what you ask for when the boot is already on someone's neck. Peace is what the powerful ask for when they don't want to be interrupted. Unity isn't neutral. Unity that refuses to name violence is just loyalty to the ones holding the weapons. You don't get to ask God to heal the land if you won't even look at the wound. There is a kind of peace that only exists because it refuses to tell the truth. That peace is a lie, and lies don't grow anything worth saving. The scriptures you love weren't written to keep things calm. They were written to set things right. And sometimes the most faithful thing you can do is stop praying around the pain and start standing inside it. If that makes you uncomfortable, good. Growth always is. And I think for those of us, again, who are experiencing this happening to people who look like us, it is an opportunity for us to stand inside the pain with our brothers and sisters in this community who have been shouting this to us, telling this to us, showing up tirelessly to remind us that this is a reality that has been ongoing and existent in our community.
Councilmember Jackson.
Thank you, Mayor. So I was able to attend Ward 1 town meeting where the topic was drones as first responders. And so anyone who's interested in that topic, please continue to come to these town meetings. Like Allison said, at-larges will continue this conversation because we do take the community's input on this very serious and want to make sure that equity and inclusive policies and practices are being considered and that people's personal information is being secured. And I just wanted to also say that I attended the Interfaith MLK breakfast, which was really nice, and the MLK Junior wreath laying at the newly remodeled MLK Junior Library. And I just wanted to add on to a lot of the state-sanctioned violence that we're seeing happening in our nation that weighs heavily on me. And I take my role as a legislator very serious. And the city council was elected by the people to legislate. And I intend to do that, including pushing back against other branches of our government, such as the executive branch that is creeping into legislative power. And we have to stand firm as a legislative body to say that we were elected by the people and we get to set the precedent and the laws, just like we did with passing of the emergency resolution 2 weeks ago. So we will continue to work on this, and I wanted to end with a quote as well that has been on my mind from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., that a nation that continues year after year to spend more money on military defense than on programs of social uplift is approaching spiritual doom. And so hopefully we can turn that around and invest more in social programs in Aurora.
Councilmember Horton.
All right, so it's been a bit busy in Ward 1, y'all. Councilmember Wiles and I co-hosted a forum on January 13th, using it as an opportunity to talk about what is independent civilian oversight of law enforcement. It's part of a two-part series. The second one's coming up this week on Thursday on the 29th. And because we are exceeding expectations, I hope, from the community. We added an in-person town hall with Fort Worth's independent monitor, Bonsil. She is coming into town. She was so gracious to change her plans last minute, and it's a great opportunity for community members to hear from an independent civilian oversight monitor with a similar city structure as ours. So I encourage folks to attend. That's January 28th at the Aurora Center for Active Adults, and we'll get started at 6 p.m. Light snacks will be provided on the 28th, and then when we convene again the very next evening on the 29th, same place, same time, it's going to be an opportunity for us as a community to really dig in and talk about the functions and structure of oversight that we want to see right here in our city. So it's going to be much more interactive. And from that, attended a few community meetings, MLK events. My favorite was one hosted by our young organizers with the NAACP, and it was a great opportunity to do a lot of internal reflection and also reflection about the vision that we have for our city. Had the town hall that Councilmember Jackson mentioned, where we talked about the Downtown Development Authority and the application process that is currently open. So if you can visit the website and you meet the criteria, please apply. And then secondly, we had one of the commanders come in and talk about the drone program that was launched back in July of last year and is continuous and has expanded now that we learned to a few other areas of Aurora. Lots of great feedback at the end of that. As a city council member, first time town hall, I'm making the due diligence to make sure that expectations are met in terms of presenters have a specific amount of time, as well as enough time for community members to actively engage in Q&A and a discussion on issues that they're passionate about, which is why they showed up to that space. So I appreciate that feedback. Attended the Adams County Regional Summit this past weekend, and if you're interested about the Community Development Corporation that is going to be built alongside the DDA, please reach out. My email isghorton, HORTON, @auroragov.org. And I mean, gosh, lastly, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Coombs, for opening up and talking about what's happening across the United States and what we're seeing, in Minneapolis. But it's not abnormal to what we're seeing also here in Colorado, especially outside the metro area. And the risk that it is posing on our immigrant communities is real. And I do want to just point to the fact that we start these meetings off doing the Pledge of Allegiance. The first thing we says is, I pledge allegiance to the flag. It's not a political party. It is to this country. And we end with liberty and justice for all. And I would argue we have not met that vision in our country, but it behooves us to do so and continuously fight for it. So thank you for your time.
Councilmember Wiles.
Thank you, Mayor. So like some of my fellow council members, we had a lot of events the last couple of weeks. Interfaith breakfast, which had amazing performances by some of our youth. It was great to see them there. Expressing themselves through dance as well as through poetry and spoken word, and so that was an awesome thing to see. We also had quite a few volunteer events, so thank you to our staff for the event where we created care kits and snack bags for our unhoused community members. It's always an event that I look forward to every year, and so thank you to staff for always planning that. We also had a local nonprofit that planned a painting of the fire station community rooms. I won't say that we did the best job, but I will say that it was a lot of fun, and I love seeing our youth there participating. Like Councilmember Horton talked about, we do have quite a few events coming up. Another really great event that we did was sponsored by Brother Jeff and Cross Purpose. We had a volunteer event on Dr. Martin Luther King Day where we were able to create lots of meals and drop them off at our residents' homes so that they had a hot meal on Martin Luther King Day. So highly recommend next year you get involved with that. The more hands, the better, and it was a great experience. I also want to thank our youth for coming to talk. It is so important that you guys are involved, and we are appreciative that you came and had your voice heard. Please continue to show up. We want to hear from you. That's why we were all elected, is to represent you, and even though you're not 18 yet, you will be soon, and so we are glad that you're here. So thank you for participating. And then finally, I also want to read a quote, and I think it's very simple, but those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. And I would argue that when my sons were young, I'm that kind of mom that I made them do educational things while on vacation. We actually went to the Simon Wiesenthal Center twice and went through the Museum of Tolerance. And if you were to look at their exhibit today and see the correlations of what is happening right now in this country, you would be horrified. So we can pretend that we don't know what's going to happen based on history, but that would be disingenuous. So I would just ask that everybody educate themselves on what happened and do whatever they can to stop it from recurring. We do not need history to repeat itself, and we are on a very dangerous path. So thank you, everybody, for coming tonight. Again, we appreciate you being here.
With the passage of the Downtown Development Authority, the mayor, who is losing his voice, appoints the 7-member board confirmed by the council. And this is very important to me, that the revitalization of the Colfax corridor, essentially between Peoria and Yosemite. And I'm really proud to have appointed Councilmember Ally Jackson to that position, and we expect great things from you. I guess I'm in trouble. Councilmember Medina, I'm so sorry.
Thank you, Mayor.
Used to be over there, now you're over here. I think that's the problem.
I changed like the chameleon. A couple things. I had my town hall a couple weeks ago. We had pros come out and talk about the infestation of the emerald ash borer, which is getting ash trees. So if you have any trees that are on city-owned, you can get those mitigated through the city for free. Talk to forestry, they can tell you a little bit about that. February 10th, I'll be having my town hall with public safety at the Aurora Active Adult Center. Also, I met with Osna, a youth from Smoky Hill. She's interested in politics, so we're trying to create a framework to figure a way for her to shadow a council member. And so we're going to be working on that collectively. I've met with her and her mother because I want them to both be involved in the process there. And again, to the youth, for Thriving Youth, thanks for getting involved. Also get involved with the Youth Commission, because that's another way to get your voice a little bit out there. So thank you.
So, now that I can go. I was, unfortunately, had to reschedule my town hall meeting. It was for Saturday. this last Saturday, but, we had Metro Mayor's Caucus do their annual retreat, and then I had to leave that to the afternoon to go to Adams County Council of Governments, where I spoke in the afternoon. And so it will be on the 14th of February from 2 o'clock to 3:30. Seeing no further business, oh, I'm sorry, public invited to be heard.
Ayante Anderson, followed by Median Schaffner.
Well, this has been the most effective city council meeting I have ever sat through. No arguing, nobody on this side of the dais talking about how somebody on this side of the dais is a domestic terrorist. This is what it feels like when you elect Democrats up and down the ballot. So to those who remain on the council and who didn't walk off their jobs, I mean, in other professions, this would be called no call, no show. And so I hope that those who are paying attention to the future elections in this city will look at those who no called, no showed to their jobs. Let that sink in, because somebody's in the minority, because somebody got their feelings hurt, or they don't agree with the new majority. They refuse to show up to work. I would only be able to do that as a private citizen a few times before my employer would say, "Thanks for working here, you're fired." So, Aurora citizens have a duty in 2 years to send a message to Hancock, Gardner, Lawson, and Bergen, even if they're termed, that they are fired. However, I want us to be able to remember why folks like myself and others began coming to this podium. It wasn't solely about changing a seat. It was about demanding justice because the Aurora Police Department continues to operate like ICE, murdering citizens in our communities that are unarmed, that are fathers, that are husbands, in your streets. White folks are just now getting the taste of what black folks have endured in this country for 400 years. And now, unfortunately, we are starting to see innocent white Americans gunned down. And if that has you angered, if that has you upset, this is your moment to think about how we felt during Elijah, how we felt during Rajon, how we felt during Kylan, and the litany of other names that have been lost at the hands of the Aurora Police Department. So I'm going to issue a challenge to everybody in this room. If you believe that those individuals murdered by the Aurora Police Department and by ICE should be alive today, please stand and remain standing in this chambers right now. And that includes the council. Ashe.
Median Schaffner, followed by Hashim Coates.
So I want to acknowledge something that was done during point of privilege by Councilman Andrews. The journey that will be necessary is not going to be one that's comfortable or easy. But I do want to acknowledge that so as long as there's an entry point for growth and there's nothing performative about it, there are going to be individuals that will walk alongside to ensure that that accountability is real. And so it is to be determined what happens next, but we will be paying attention. The other part of that, though, I want to speak specifically. The city of Aurora and the Aurora Police still have not released the entire unedited footage of the murder of Kylan Lewis. And we were told that, or oftentimes we are told, that it is an administrative burden to get that video footage out to community so they can metabolize what happened. Interestingly enough, community was able to metabolize a 2-hour-long body cam footage release of the arrest of Councilman Rob Andrews. That should concern everyone here. That in one hand, it's an administrative burden, but seemingly when it is convenient, you can get it right away. To the point where community posts it on their YouTube channel. I think it should also disturb us that there are former members of this city council that got a copy of a police report and the body cam footage, probably without a core request. And I tell you what, if you spend all 2 hours watching that body cam footage like the geek in me did, there are some serious problems with the decorum that happens inside of that detention center. That's right. The way that police engage with each other. The way that inconsistencies are managed and maintained by a breathalyzer. City Council, you are the input of the authority in this city. And the policing system is one of your biggest outputs. So the way that we are treated as constituents or as community, or if you just happen to be in the sundown town of Aurora, you are the input of that output. So when history retells this story, they won't pick you individually. You will be tied to that output. Do better.
Hashim Coates, followed by Jamie Jackson.
The ICE resolution was timely and honestly, eerily prophetic. I want to name 2 people whose deaths have forced this conversation into the open: Alex Peretti and Renee Nicole Good. They were not elected officials, however, they were human beings. They were law-abiding citizens of the United States of America, and their killings have sparked outrage. But remember, ICE has killed 9 people. And that's only been what they've done in 2026. We know that the names of the 2 white people that have killed, but also we have to remember that they killed a black man named Keith Parker, a Cambodian named Parity Law, 5 Latinos, Herbert Sanchez Dominguez, Victor Manuel Diaz, Luis Beltran, Yanez Cruz, Luis Gustavo Nuez Cervantes, and Geraldo Lunes Campos. ICE is on place to kill more than 100 people this year. ICE needs to be abolished. But until that happens, the state of Colorado must take stronger action to protect Coloradans, and Aurora must do the same. And that brings me to local accountability. I'm calling for the removal of Aurora Police Chief Todd Chamberlain. There was a glaring warning when the police department actively recruited from a white nationalist convention called a Trump rally. That decision was defended publicly by the chief, and that decision has placed Aurora in harm. Secondly, there's a serious issue inside of APD as it relates to information leaks. How is police information being received by private individuals and reaching members before it reaches members of this council? Council cannot govern what it cannot access. Third, city resources must not be used for personal advocacy. Yet, Todd Chamberlain has used official department channels to communicate on council actions, including ICE, even when those votes are not direct police operations. This is a misuse of public resources, and any Aurora employee would be punished appropriately, and this should see fit. City Council, you are the employer. Hold Jason Batchelor accountable to what you ask him. Communicate to him your needs in writing. If he chooses to respond verbally, follow back up with that in writing. We demand a paper trail on these activities. This is your job. This is what you are charged to do.
Jamie Jackson.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. I'm Rep. Jamie Jackson, and I represent HD 41 here in Aurora. I'm also speaking tonight as the Criminal Justice Chair of the Aurora NAACP. I want to begin by acknowledging the deep pain and trauma our community continues to carry as a result of police-involved use of force, particularly in communities of color. Even as the APD operates under a consent decree intended to drive reform, we continue to see disproportionate outcomes that erode trust and raise serious concerns about accountability and public safety. For many families, this isn't an abstract policy discussion. These are real lives lost. I want to name them because their lives mattered. Elijah McClain, Jordell Richardson, Kylan Lewis, Rashad Johnson, Rajon Belt Stubblefield, and Jalen Sebron in Douglas County, just to name a few. Behind each name is a family grieving, a community seeking answers, and a future that was cut short. We stand in solidarity with these families and with all families who have lost loved ones at the hands of law enforcement. Acknowledging this harm is about responsibility and accountability. It's about ensuring that reform is not performative, but permanent and meaningful. That's why I'm urging this council to take the next critical step by establishing a permanent independent monitor with real authority and meaningful community involvement. Independent oversight is essential to transparency, accountability, and rebuilding trust. The temporary consent decree is not enough when the harm is ongoing. At the state legislature, my colleagues and I are actively exploring all available options to reduce racial disproportionality in policing outcomes and to strengthen civil rights protections. Local leadership and state action must move together. I also want to thank this council for passing the resolution opposing unlawful and overreaching federal immigration enforcement actions. In light of the tragic killings of Renee Good and now Alex Preddy, as well as others that were previously named, your action affirmed that constitutional protections and human dignity must never be optional. That resolution sent a powerful message that Aurora will not be silent in the face of injustice. In that same spirit, I want to share that we at the legislature are bringing forward an immigration bill package to help safeguard our communities, hold ICE accountable, and ensure that federal enforcement actions respect due process, constitutional rights, and human life. Thank you.
That was the last individual.
Seeing no further business before the Aurora City Council, meeting is adjourned.